Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're really on a mission. We want to uncover how you can get total, absolutely undeniable financial transparency. And we're talking about an area that's, well, let's be honest, it's infamous for hidden costs: vehicle fleet management. Now, this isn't about selling you anything. Our aim today is just pure practical insight, the kind honed over nearly 2 decades working right in this field. It's really about arming you with the clarity to truly understand what's driving your fleet's finances.
Exactly. And this isn't just abstract theory we're discussing. I remember this one manager I talked to. He was completely convinced, absolutely certain his fleet cost $2 million a year. But after we really dug in, applied this kind of deep dive methodology, he was genuinely shocked. The real number, closer to 3.2 million.
Wow, that's a huge difference.
It really is. But the upside, the silver lining, was that finding this out allowed them to pinpoint and unlock, believe it or not, 800,000 euros in savings.
Incredible.
Yeah. And this story, it perfectly illustrates a pretty startling statistic we see in our sources. Something like 90% of companies actually underestimate their fleet costs. And not by a little bit, by a staggering 40% to 60%. Just imagine leaving that kind of money on the table.
It's astonishing, isn't it? It means so many businesses are basically navigating blind, just sailing through this dense fog of hidden expenses. They're trying to piece things together with maybe partial Excel spreadsheets, or they get blindsided by surprise invoices, unexpected monthly charges popping up.
Right.
And it's often not a failing of the people involved, their diligence. It seems more like a structural problem, almost inherent in how these costs have traditionally been managed across the sector. So what does this mean for you, the listener, trying to make sense of these numbers?
Well, our central theme today is the transformative power you get from total, granular, real-time visibility. It's about pulling back that curtain on every single euro. Exactly. And what's really illuminating here is how fundamental the methodology is for capturing 100% of these costs. Yet it's so often overlooked. We usually break it down into two main categories.
Yeah.
So let's start by laying out the foundation, which is your fixed costs.
Okay, the predictable stuff first.
Well, predictable-ish. Under fixed costs, we first look at leasing and long-term rentals, LLD as it's often called. Now, it's not enough just to track that monthly payment. You absolutely need to log the full contract duration. And crucially, the residual value.
The value at the end of the lease?
Precisely. Many companies, they kind of overlook amortizing these residual values correctly. Spreading the vehicle's anticipated value loss over the contract term. Getting that wrong can significantly skew your financial picture over time.
I could see that.
Then you've got taxes and vignettes. This often means road use permits, common in places like Europe. The classic mistake here, missing deadlines, which just leads to unnecessary penalties.
Easily done, I imagine.
It is, but it's also easily fixed. A simple system, maybe 30-day alerts before each deadline. That can completely eliminate this oversight. Then moving on to insurance. You've got to go beyond just the premium amount.
Okay.
It's vital, really vital, to integrate your historical claims data. Why? Because that's what calculates the real cost of insurance per vehicle.
Yeah.
Gives you a much more accurate picture.
Right, not just the sticker price, but the actual cost based on history.
Exactly. And finally, under fixed costs, personnel charges. We're talking about things directly related to your driver's salaries, social charges, benefits. These should be proportionally allocated per vehicle and, importantly, per mission. This way, you're seeing the full, true cost impact of each vehicle in operation, not just lumping it into general overhead.
That's a really comprehensive look at the fixed side, which, as you said, often feels more predictable, maybe easier to budget for. But what about the other side? The dynamic, constantly shifting expenses. Those must be the ones that can really keep fleet managers awake at night, right? Where do you even start trying to track those unpredictable variable costs?
Yeah, that's where it gets more complex, but also where huge insights lie. So on the variable cost side, let's start with the big one, fuel. Just tracking the total amount spent. It's like looking at a blurry photo. Doesn't tell you much.
Right, just a big number.
Exactly. The critical insight, and our sources really back this up, is analyzing consumption per driver. This isn't just about spotting, aggressive driving, though it does that. It's about pinpointing specific training needs, maybe, or identifying vehicles that are underperforming, or even catching a mechanical fault that's developing before it turns into a major breakdown. That's real granular power.
Okay, I see. Much deeper than just the total fuel bill.
Absolutely. Next up, tolls and road fees. By geolocating each transaction, you can quickly spot those non-optimized routes, catching those small detours that, as we'll discuss later, really add up.
And tires, that seems like just a replacement cost?
Well, yes and no. For tires, the smart strategy isn't just replacing them when they're bald. It's about tracking the wear and predicting replacements. This kind of proactive approach, it can lead to something like a 15% reduction in this specific expense just by being smarter about your inventory and timing.
15% just on tires. Wow. Okay.
Yeah, then we have infractions, speeding tickets, parking fines, that kind of thing. This isn't just about paying the fine itself. You need to calculate the total impact. Meaning penalties, any points deducted from a driver's license, and crucially, how all of this affects your overall insurance premiums down the line. It's a cascading cost.
Right, it ripples outwards.
Precisely. And finally, maintenance. It's essential here to systematically distinguish between repairs done internally versus externally. And, very importantly, categorize them by the type of breakdown. Why did it fail? This granular data is just invaluable for understanding trends, maybe spotting issues with certain vehicle models or deciding between service providers.
Got it. So that covers the main fixed and variable buckets.
It does. But building on that, while fixed and variable costs are what most people try to track, what truly opens eyes, where things get really interesting, are the invisible costs.
Invisible costs. Okay.
Intrigued. These are the often unaccounted for expenses, the ones that can dramatically skew your perceived fleet expenditure, and they only really come to light when you start looking closely, systematically.
Okay, like what? Give me an example.
Let's start with vehicle immobilization. Just ask yourself, what does it truly cost if one of your vehicles is out of service for just a single day?
Well, the repair cost, obviously.
Sure, but it's far more than just the repair bill. Think about the direct loss of operation for that day, potentially canceled missions, missed deliveries, and then the ripple effect, dissatisfied clients.
Oh, right, the knock-on effect.
Exactly. All of these have a clear, measurable financial impact that often goes completely uncalculated. It's a huge blind spot for many businesses.
Okay, immobilization. What else?
Then there are non-optimized routes. We've all probably taken a shortcut that ended up being longer, right?
Guilty.
Well, for a fleet, those seemingly small detours, maybe it's to please a client, maybe just poor planning they can accumulate, to a surprising 8% to 12% of lost kilometers.
8 to 12%. That's huge.
It is. That's pure wasted fuel, wasted driver time, lost potential revenue, just gone. Similarly, the recurrence of breakdowns. This is another massive hidden cost. By tracking which specific vehicle models or even individual vehicles frequently break down, you gain invaluable comparative data.
So you can see patterns, like this model always has transmission issues.
Exactly that. This insight can totally revolutionize your future purchasing policies. You can move away from problematic models towards more reliable ones, saving a fortune down the line. And one more, client compensation. Think about when delays or service issues lead to commercial gestures or goodwill payments.
Like offering a discount on the next job.
Yeah, or free services, maybe even refunds. These costs must be directly connected back to the transport cost. They need to be accurately imputed. They aren't just some vague customer service expense. They're often a direct result of how the fleet is operating, or maybe maloperating. They need to be seen that way.
It really sounds like manually trying to calculate all these invisible costs would be an absolute nightmare, just bordering on impossible for most teams. Is it really true that with a comprehensive system or method, what used to take maybe weeks for a full total cost of ownership TCO analysis can now be done in minutes? That would genuinely be a game changer.
Oh, absolutely. It is night and day. Weeks of painstakingly sifting through spreadsheets and invoices versus, literally minutes of analysis once the system is set up.
Yeah.
And to make this really concrete, let me share a practical example. In an anonymized case study, we worked with a logistics group. They were running about 150 vehicles, and they were pretty confident. They thought they had their cost management totally under control, running a tight ship.
Okay, so they thought they knew their numbers.
They did. However, during just 1 month of auditing using this kind of methodology, they discovered, this was a shock, an astounding €280,000 in hidden annual overruns.
280,000 euros. Just like that.
Just like that, hidden in plain sight once you knew where to look. So what did we find? Well, by cross-referencing their telematics data with fuel card transactions, we quickly pinpointed a significant 12% fuel overconsumption. And it was directly attributable to, let's say, suboptimal driver behavior patterns.
12% just on fuel waste.
Yep. Similarly, a deep dive into their accounts payable revealed €18,000 in fine speeding, parking that had just been buried in general expenses, never allocated correctly back to specific vehicles or drivers.
Just lost in the noise.
Exactly. And perhaps the most startling find was 45,000 euros in vehicle immobilization costs that had simply never been calculated before. These were the costs from lost revenue, missed opportunities, not just the repair bills themselves, the rest of the overruns. They were scattered, smaller expenses kind of tucked away in various accounts.
So what happened? What was the outcome?
The outcome was pretty remarkable. By identifying and then optimizing these leaks, these hidden costs, the group achieved 25% savings on their total fleet budget.
25.
25%. And importantly, this was all without having to alter their vehicles or downsize their teams or make any huge operational changes. It was purely about seeing the truth of their costs and acting on it.
Those savings are genuinely impressive, especially, as you say, without needing massive disruptive changes. It really just highlights the power of that visibility. So, okay, tracking all this stuff is clearly step one. But beyond just tracking the numbers, what's the next level? What kind of analyses really transform this raw data into strategic advantages?
That's the crucial next step, moving from tracking to analyzing.
Right. For instance, I can imagine having real-time costs per kilometer. That must give you data that's way more precise and current than any traditional, maybe month-end accounting calculation, like a dynamic view of efficiency.
Absolutely. Real-time cost per KRM is a game changer for operational decisions. Then there's comparative performance. You can actually compare drivers against drivers, teams against teams, or even different sites or depots against each other.
Which could get competitive.
Well, the idea isn't about shaming anyone. It's more about fostering a kind of positive emulation, where seeing best practices naturally helps improve overall performance across the board.
Our sources also really emphasize the importance of strategic financial ratios. Things like fuel cost as a percentage of revenue or maintenance costs per kilometer, maybe insurance cost relative to the vehicle's value.
Those sound powerful.
They are. These aren't just numbers. They really reveal your competitive positioning. They show you where you stand in the market and highlight specific areas for strategic improvement. And what sounds truly transformative is the power of predictive analyses. Can you really identify which vehicles are likely to need major repairs soon?
Yes, within a certain probability. Imagine knowing which vehicles will likely require significant work in the next, say, 60 days. This shifts maintenance entirely. You move from being reactive, scrambling when something breaks, into a planned, efficient process. That saves huge amounts of downtime and cost.
That alone sounds worth the effort.
It often is. And finally, think about adaptive dashboards. This means different levels of management. Your C-suite, your operations managers, your finance department, they can all receive tailored views of the data, continuously updated dashboards showing exactly what's most relevant to their specific roles and decisions. It's about getting the right information to the right people, right when they need it.
So everyone sees what they need to see to make faster, smarter decisions.
Precisely. And if we look at the consistent patterns, the results we see from applying these methods, they aren't just theoretical. They deliver really systematic results. Our analysis, looking at thousands of vehicles over several years now, shows really consistent outcomes. We typically see around 17% average savings on fuel.
17%.
Yeah, mostly thanks to detecting those behavioral anomalies we talked about and optimizing routes. We observe about a 23% reduction in maintenance costs.
23%.
Largely through that power of predictive maintenance, moving from reactive fixes to planned interventions, and quite remarkably, a 31% optimization of administrative costs.
Wow.
Mainly through process automation, automating data collection, reporting, alerts. It just frees up so much valuable personnel time from manual tasks. So overall, our clients typically see an average 25% total cost reduction in their fleet budget, usually within the very first year of applying these comprehensive methods.
A quarter of the budget in year one.
On average, yes. And these aren't just arbitrary figures. They're hard-won data points from real-world applications across all sorts of different fleets.
Okay, that's incredibly compelling. So what does this all mean for you listening right now? We want to give you something direct, something actionable you can take away from this deep dive today.
Yeah, a little experiment.
Exactly. Pick just one vehicle from your fleet. Any single truck, van, car, doesn't matter. For the next 7 days, meticulously track all of its costs. And I mean all. Not just the obvious fuel bill. Track the tolls it uses, any miscellaneous expenses associated with it, parking, washes, whatever. And even try to estimate the proportional driver time allocated just to that specific vehicle for the week.
Get everything.
Everything. Once you have that data for the week, calculate its real cost per kilometer. Be honest with the numbers. And then, just as a rough estimate, extrapolate that figure across your entire fleet. See what that total number looks like.
So this raises the crucial question. What are you going to discover when you do that? My prediction, I'd wager that this seemingly simple exercise will likely reveal something like a 15% to 30% deviation from whatever your current estimates are.
15 to 30% difference just from 1 week on one vehicle.
That's what we often see. It's a powerful first glimpse, that initial peek behind the curtain into what total financial visibility can truly offer your organization. It's often the spark, that ignites a complete transformation in how costs are managed.
We've covered a lot of ground today, and I think we've reached the end of this deep dive. The core takeaway, for me at least, seems abundantly clear. No expense should remain invisible. Every single euro, every pound, every dollar needs to be traced, consolidated, analyzed, and ultimately transformed into an actionable decision. This granularity we've been talking about, you see, it really feels like the absolute key, the key to shaking off that kind of approximate gut feel management and actually building an optimized financial strategy that really works for your fleet.
Well said. So, as you reflect on today's discussion, maybe consider this thought-provoking idea. How many critical decisions right now are potentially being made in your organization based on incomplete, maybe inaccurate cost data? And crucially, what significant opportunities might you be missing because of it?
That's a powerful question to leave folks with. And speaking of the future and opportunities, in our next deep dive, we're planning to explore predictive maintenance in more detail. We'll look at how you can actually transform those reactive, unexpected, costly breakdowns into planned, strategic, efficient maintenance. It's another really exciting layer of optimization just waiting to be uncovered. So thank you for joining us today on the deep dive. We really appreciate you tuning in, and we look forward to having you with us again next time.